Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a movie review on Mean Girls. This is an adaptation of the musical, which is based off the movie Mean Girls. It is the third movie in the Mean Girls franchise, technically. It was released in 2024. It stars Angourie Rice, Renee Rapp, and Uli Cravalho. The story in this is just the story in the first one, except now it's a musical, so there you go. And without further ado, let's begin with this review, and let's start talking about the positives. First thing I would say in the positive section is that this is a fun enough and enjoyable enough retelling of the original with an updated production. It kind of feels like the movie's main goal is just to entertain you and have fun, and for the most part I think it succeeds in that. Obviously the original came out 20 years ago, and with the updated production of this one, it looks a bit better in places, in particular in some of the song scenes. It feels more polished, although again the original did come out 20 years ago, so I don't know if that's really fair to say. A strong element of this Mean Girls, similar to the first one, is the cast. Angourie Rice is good as Katie. Renee Rapp is really solid as Regina George, especially considering the fact that she was originally played by Rachel McAdams, and that is an iconic performance. So obviously Renee Rapp has a lot to live up to, and she's good. I thought Jaquel Spivey was something of a highlight as Damien, and of course it is great to see Tim Meadows and Tina Fey back, and they are both good and quite funny. And overall I'd say the cast is solid enough in terms of the whole singing and dancing thing. They do a good enough job in those sequences. And of course it is a musical, so speaking of the songs, I enjoyed a couple of them, but I think the main thing with the songs is that they are slickly produced, and the sequences are quite good, and they have some decent choreography, and they look good. And overall, the song sequences are like, they like kind of like visually and the way they're produced, they're good enough. And I would also say this movie is actually slightly funnier than I expected. Obviously nothing like the original Mean Girls, but it is fairly decent for the most part in terms of the comedy, in my opinion. Like, I didn't think it was really funny, but I did half laugh at one point. Like, I kind of started laughing and then didn't finish it. So I laughed 0.5 times while watching this movie, which is better than most comedies. So all of that kind of makes for a solid enough comedy musical Mean Girls movie. I would say for the negatives, something about the story here is seriously off. The way that the story plays out in the original Mean Girls is fantastic, for lack of a better word. And with this one, it feels like their main goal was just to, well, I say it feels like their main goal was, they're just retelling the original, but in musical form, and I feel like that kind of hurts the film a bit. The way that the story plays out and everything, I don't think it's that the songs, like, get in the way of the storytelling, but there's nowhere near as much care put into the story here as like the original Mean Girls, and I just don't think there is that much care put into the storytelling, and which is unfortunate, because again the way it plays out in the original is really great, but I think some things feel kind of underdeveloped here, for lack of a better term, and I just think the story doesn't play out nearly as effectively as the original. Another thing here, comparing this to the original, is it really kind of lacks the meanness of the original, meanness, Mean Girls, haha, which is something that many other people have said, and I would kind of agree with it having seen the film. That's not to say there isn't edgy humor, there is, but it can't help but feel toned down and kind of filtered in comparison to the original, and that kind of, I felt like that kind of has something to do with it feeling a bit more polished and glossy and modernized, like I mentioned earlier. I think that I felt like it kind of has something to do with that, and it did feel filtered because of it, in my opinion. So with this new Mean Girls movie, there isn't actually that much like new stuff here. There's not much updating done to the story or anything. Like I said, it's just the story of the original, but it's a musical now. And one of the things that they do, one of the things that they do update with this is the social media stuff that you've seen in the trailers, which I like the fact that that's a new thing in this movie, and it is something that felt appropriate in the context of a film like Mean Girls. But I do feel like it felt kind of like superficial. That's probably not the right word. It felt a bit superficial and inauthentic. Like, I don't know, that's not really a major issue. It's just the fact that like it's difficult for like, filmmakers who aren't part of like the social media generation to capture social media accurately in films. I get that, and I felt like it was kind of an issue present in this film, but it could have been worse. And this is needless to say because it is a musical. I doubt this will appeal to people who don't like musicals. Like, it is a full-on musical, unsurprisingly. And I feel like if you're not a fan of musicals, you're definitely going to want to skip this, even if you are a fan of the original Mean Girls. I just feel like the way that the musical aspect of this movie is handled won't appeal to people who don't like musicals. Although if you don't like musicals, you're probably not going to see this anyway. And I also think that because of, like, how I've said, it's just a story of the original, but a musical, I don't think that Mean Girls fans will get much out of it. Like, if you're a die-hard fan of the original, there's nothing really new here or significant, and I don't think you will get much out of it, like I said. That's not to say that you won't enjoy it, or you'll have a bad time with it, or you won't like it. It's just not an earth-shattering event if you're a Mean Girls fan. But watching it, I did still feel like it felt like a movie that Mean Girls fans will enjoy most, probably. It did feel like a movie aimed at them. And talking more about the songs, I did say in the positive sections, I enjoyed a couple of them. For the most part, the songs are not memorable and are not catchy enough to be, you know, like, good. And I haven't seen the original musical, and I still haven't heard any of the songs from it, even after having seen the musical movie. So this is all new to me, and I just didn't like them for the most part. Like, I don't think they were memorable enough. But again, I can't make any comparisons. And a final thing to say here, and I am saying it at the end because it is a really minor issue in my opinion, the characters aren't quite as memorable as they were in the original, but again, that is a really minor issue for me. I didn't feel like that was a major issue. And I didn't think any of the characters were bad, and I didn't go like, oh, I don't like any of these characters at all. But the first one works better, needless to say. So overall, Mean Girls 2024 is fine. I liked it. Needless to say, it's nowhere near as effective as the original, and I do think it feels watered down in places. But I think if you are a fan of the original, you're likely to enjoy it, maybe. But I can see why it is dividing fans. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this review. If you did enjoy, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you want to. If you have seen this movie, feel free to let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.